What's going on, Pi Nation? It's G Money here, and I got with me,
Seabass.
I got Seabass with me, Mr. Sebastian, the Discord King. As you all know, today is Pyeducation Lesson 1. This introductory series beginning today is really taking place so we, Dev Team 6, can kind of really help strengthen and unify the story, the approach to how Pi Nation can bring SWAP 2.0 center stage in front of the world's eyes. So we're going to go over in these weekly lessons for the next 3 or 4 weeks, just kind of the lingo, the language of how internally we speak about the tech in the project, and as well as just kind of share this with you guys and just kind of provide some ammunition, so when you're out in the fields and you're talking about your favorite project, your favorite dessert, pie, you know exactly what you need to say. So Sebastian, you got anything you'd like to kind of add there before we get rolling in this?
Yeah, of course. So one of the most important things, about community in a crypto project is just the ability to all be on the same page about why we're all here together, why we've invested, why this matters, why Pi is special, right? And the whole point of these, Pyeducation series is to get everyone on a unified position. That way, when we do engage in when we continue engaging in our B2B on Twitter, and we start having more external communications going out on Twitter and on these other social channels, to have our community there behind us, supporting us, and also saying the things that makes Pi special is what's truly important here. That's why we're trying to get everyone on the same page, because at the end of the day, Pi is really special. And I know that if we had asked 50 investors, what is Pi, I honestly think that a lot of them would get a lot right. But there would be a little bit of variance here and there, and we find that it could be, if we have like a unified message to send out to everyone, that would really be beneficial for everyone involved. So.
No, and you're exactly right, and that's why we have opened up on our Discord channel a new room called the Tweet and Tell. As you've noticed over the last week and a half, we have implemented daily, twice. We got a morning and a PM session, these daily Twitter raids, really trying to get the support of the community to rally behind Pi Nation on Twitter. So our newest social media guy, Mr. Cullen, he's been behind these daily Twitter raids. But again, the Tweet and Tell is a next step in the raids. Really what we found is, while you're on Twitter, you see a lot of these big influencers, these big promoters, these big developers and influencers out there looking for what's next in the space, or what's going on in the space, or what is changing the space right now. And so the Tweet and Tell room has automatically linked our Pi bot to multiple different accounts, example being CZ Binance himself. And so when he shoots out a tweet, our bot will automatically pick it up and drop it to you in the Tweet and Tell room. Also in the Tweet and Tell room, beginning today, July 12th, we will have some pinned information in there, such as textual information about SWAP 2.0, about Pi, about Pi Lab, a lot of almost shill content ready at hand. Like I said, we're really trying to get you guys squared away in the armory, so you have a stockpile of weaponry and ammunition to really go out there and promote your project, Pi Swap and Pi 2.0 to the world. So Tweet and Tell is going to be a huge role in this, and having the community follow up and really push behind it is going to be a huge win. And Sebastian, could you tell them a little bit about the hashtags that will be coming out Monday through Friday?
Yeah, of course. So we have a couple of hashtags that we have come up with. Our crack social media team has put them together. And so we're going to have a different hashtag for every single day of the week, right? And the point of having these unified hashtags for a specific day is to really get that engagement going. Once, let's say we have 50 to 100 people from our community that go out onto Twitter, they start tweeting and interacting with people using these hashtags, it's going to drive that engagement way up to Twitter, and Twitter's going to start recognizing those hashtags. It's going to start recognizing the common themes behind them all, which is going to be Pi, and it'll start promoting us more just through the algorithm. So on Monday, we're going to start out the week with a hashtag PiSwapTech. It's going to be a hashtag showing off the PiSwapTech 2.0, like the Swap 2.0, and all the technology that the Pi ecosystem has to offer. Tuesday, it's just going to be hashtag Pi, just like the token. On Wednesday, it's going to be hashtag Pi Wednesday. Thursday, it would be Crypto Pi Thursday. And on Friday, of course, our favorite, Pi Day Friday or Pi Nation Friday. These are going to be the hashtags that you can use throughout the week. We'll be letting you guys know what day to use which hashtag in the tweet and tell room, just to get that unified message out to Twitter.
Yeah, so and before we kick off lesson number 1 here, we start talking a little bit about Swap 2.0 and how it is, exponentially different and better than Swap 1.0s, which currently every single exchange and swap out there, you could name it, and it is a Swap 1.0. If it ain't PiSwap, it ain't using 2.0. But before we dive into that, just also want to remind and let you guys know, as these lessons go on over the next 3 or 4 weeks, once they've come to a completion, our recordings, we'll have a recap summarized for you guys, but we'll also have recordings. You'll then be able to take the Discord quiz that we drop at the end of this series and earn your Discord role as a Pyeducator. So that'll be a short quiz, and there'll be lots of future utility inside of Discord as well as outside for our Pyeducators. So make sure you're taking notes, you're listening to how we talk about the tech and the project, and without further ado, we're going to kick it off. So I really just want to go over just current swap technology, and then Sebastian will kick it up a notch and really respond back to, okay, well, how is Swap 2.0 doing it differently? So as we all know now in the DeFi space, all these existing swaps currently take the taxes and the fees in the project token itself. So again, let's say your project has tokenomics, a 10% tokenomic fee tacked onto it. If you go to PancakeSwap to buy some, they're taking 10% of your project token itself and collecting it inside of the contract and selling it later then, when it reaches a certain amount of tokens or on a time limit, let's say every 12 hours it goes and dumps. But again, it's taking that 10%, holding it in the contract, and then the contract goes and sells those project tokens to collect its paired coin, the BNB or the ETH, to collect the taxes. But this is a huge issue for the project's long-term health. And why is that, and what does Swap 2.0 do for it?
Yeah, so the reason why that swapping is so detrimental to any token, it's because every single time that a transaction occurs, you have that transaction fee that gets accumulated in the contract. Now, once that contract sells those tokens, it does so on the open market, and it's classic supply and demand law there, where if the contract is going to make a bunch of new tokens that were not previously available on the open market to sell, people are going to start purchasing those tokens, and the price is going to be slightly reduced just because of how that increased supply will impact the existing demand that is already circulating for that token, right? Now, with Swap 2.0, what happens is that transaction, the tax is taken out directly in the BNB or the other paired asset, Ethereum, or another asset. Now, once that transaction gets processed, the paired that transaction or that tax amount, the paired asset amount, gets sent directly to the developer. It's not something that is stored in the contract that later on has to be swapped. It doesn't impact the price down the line. It's just a one-stop. You make the transaction, the tax gets taken out, and it gets taken out in the currency that actually matters to the developer, because the developer, the project owner, they aren't going to want to utilize their own currency to spend, to pay other developers to do X, Y, and Z with, because most of the time those projects are going to be brand new. They're not going to have that much value associated with those tokens. So for a project developer, those tokens get taken out in the BNB, in the Ethereum. They can use that BNB or ETH to go and pay their developers, pay their marketing agencies, X, Y, Z. And once that happens, you're not going to have that artificial sell pressure. You're not going to have that increase in supply that reduces the cost or the price of the token. And that swapping technology is really, really beneficial long term, because every single transaction that would happen otherwise would happen with that artificial negative sell pressure. So Swap 2.0 completely eliminates that by just having the paired assets get sent directly to the developers.
Yeah, and by collecting the fees directly up front in BNB or ETH, it takes it a step further in reducing the amount of strain that is placed on the contracts. Because again, these tokenomic buckets is what you can really call it. As your Swap 1.0s take the taxes and fees, they're collecting it in what is known as a bucket. And so let's say here's 100 tokens, here's 200 tokens, and here's 200 tokens. So 500 tokens have been collected in the bucket. All right, contract now knows that 500 tokens, let's go sell them on the open market. That's a whole lot of work for the contract to have to do. But here with Swap 2.0, you're reducing the strain on the contract by just eliminating the need for the contract to have to sell those project tokens. So a really huge win, because as we know, when those contracts are dumping on the market, it's got that unauthentic aspect to it, because again, there is no sell pressure, but the sell pressure is coming from the dumping of the project tokens. So Swap 2.0, those contracts don't have to sell, and as you touched on, it creates that negative positive.
It eliminates the negative effect, yes.
Eliminates the negative effect, but it results in a net positive impact to your overall project chart over time. So
exactly,
and that's one thing that a lot of projects on 1.0 routers really experience. They experience the loss of momentum within the contract, because the contract's always selling project tokens to collect those taxes and fees, and it really just drives down the interest, and it really kills a lot of momentum. And how does Swap 2.0, Sebastian, touch up on here for me, but how does Swap 2.0 really expand that development?
Yeah, so a lot of those projects that you mentioned, they have functions in their contract that over time are supposed to make the token deflationary, or in layman's terms, make the value of each individual token worth more over time, as opposed to the value decreasing over time. Now, the way that they do this is by implementing buyback functionalities into their contract. Now, what a buyback is it's a contract that once a certain amount of tokens have been accumulated in the buyback bucket, that contract will then go and take those tokens and purchase more project tokens out on the open market to try and raise the price. And while this is effective somewhat, it doesn't really work in the long term, because every single buyback transaction still has this negative pressure. And in fact, it actually creates a downwards looping spiral, where you have the project tokens collected, it does the buyback is taxed, that tax gets sent to the buyback bucket, and on and on and on, where all that negative sell pressure just impacts the chart over the long term. Now, with Swap 2.0, those buybacks are done directly in BNB or Ethereum, so it's not being done in those project tokens, which mean that all of those transactions that occur, they happen without that negative pressure. It creates a completely authentic market where what is on the chart is what is being sold. You don't have to worry about any manipulation with the contract selling extra tokens out in the market that's going to impact the price over in the long term.
Yeah, well, and that's something that Dev Team 6 is really big on, is transparency and authenticity, and that's something that the crypto markets and the space need overall, is transparency and authenticity. And by creating these authentic markets, Swap 2.0 really is changing the way that DeFi swaps and projects can really interact. So just to go over and reiterate some of the highlights of Swap 2.0, again, your taxes and your fees are collected in the base, or that paired coin, no longer the project token. So we're creating that authentic market with the contract no longer having to sell the project tokens. Again, with those taxes and fees being taken out in the paired asset, it's taken out immediately. It's not collected inside of the contract and then sold back on the market to collect their base coin. So again, less strain on the project's contract. And again, the contract never having to sell results in net positive impacts on your project's chart long term. And it really does expand the further development of the project overall for long-term growth. So Swap 2.0 really changing the game, really changing DeFi, and we just want to make sure that everyone has a great, firm understanding, a good, solid foundation of how Swap 2.0 is really changing DeFi, how it is overpowering Pancake Swap, Uniswap, Sushi Swap, all of these swaps that are out there using outdated tech and creating unauthentic markets. It's truly astonishing that this has not been done yet, and that Dev Team 6 is the first one here. So we're very happy to have you all on board with us, on board for lesson 1 of Pyeducation. Sebastian, do you have anything else you'd like to touch up with our community before we jump off of lesson 1?
Just that it's super happy to have everyone listening to this, Pyeducation lesson 1. It can't stress enough the importance of, it's your investment. It makes sense to want to have the correct lingo and the correct terms for, describing, why Pi is so special to other people around you, whether it be in person or whether it be on Twitter, online, or anywhere else. I feel like it's really important to have that base understanding and be a part of the team, be a part of the collective message that's going out to people and spreading the word about this amazing new technology.
No, 100%. So look, guys, you heard it here. Lesson 1 of Pyeducation has officially been put into the books. Again, if you want to earn that Pyeducator Discord role, you should be listening in. Again, we'll be hosting our next lesson 2 the following Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard. If you listen in, or maybe you know everything about 2.0, at the end of this lesson series, after 3 or 4 lessons, we'll be dropping a Discord quiz so you can earn that role. The recordings and the textual information will be made available to you guys so you can study up and get ready for those questions, pass your quiz, and earn your role in those future utilities. Look, guys, thanks so much for tuning into lesson 1. On behalf of Dev Team 6, G Money is signing out.
See you later, guys.
Have a good one.